I don't think I have appreciated so much as recently what a remarkable Gospel of St. Mark, especially the first chapter. You know, we're still in the first chapter of Mark, and we've had so many things covered in these first 6 Sundays in ordinary time. Mark's is the shortest of the Gospels, 16 chapters, where Matthew and Luke and John are 24 to 28 chapters. But you know, the Gospel of Mark doesn't include, like Matthew and Luke does, the infancy narratives, the story of John the Baptist's birth and Jesus' birth. It doesn't have the prologue that John provides. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was made flesh, and the Word made flesh dwelt among us. No, Mark gets right to the ministry of Jesus, a very short snippet about John the Baptist. But then he has the first part of the gospel where Jesus is encountering those who will be his first apostles, the fishermen brothers, Simon and Andrew, and James and John. And we heard him just within the last 2 or 3 weeks in our Gospels say to these fishermen, "Come, I will make you fishers of men." Now the next thing, these 4 men are all from Capernaum, where Jesus has decided to have his public ministry, the center of it. It says that they go, and the next thing we encounter is Jesus in the synagogue, the visiting rabbi. And though he may have had some difficulty eventually in his town of Nazareth, 40 miles away in Capernaum, he was highly welcome. And what really gave him a staggering start was he drove the demon out of someone who had been possessed for quite some time. We know that only the spiritual holy people are able to do that. And in fact, the demon, as he's leaving the man, you remember, identifies Jesus. "I know who you are. You're the Son of God." And Jesus rebukes him and tells him to be quiet. But as you can well imagine, when that synagogue service is done, there is an enormous buzz among the people of Capernaum. And of course, great relief by the person who's been freed from the demon. And it says, and we remember this from the last couple of weeks, it says that he goes to Simon Peter's house, where Simon's mother-in-law is dying with a fever. And it seems very serious, and it seems that the people of the town know her well. But when Jesus comes and lays hands on her, he heals her so completely, so suddenly, that the instincts that Peter's mother-in-law has of hospitality kick right in. She gets right out of bed and begins to serve them. And of course, around Capernaum, they would have known about Peter's mother-in-law. And the buzz goes around, and within just a short period of time, all the way through the afternoon into the early evening, one after another brought the sick, the possessed, and one after another, Jesus heals them. This is the advent, if you will, of Jesus Christ Superstar. This is the first real experience of miracle working that he's done. And not surprisingly, it just wows everyone. And Jesus, as we know from that account, slips off for a private place to pray. And the apostles, there's just 4 of them at this time, they go to where he's at. And of course, the apostles are stars at Capernaum. They're the one that brings Jesus here. And he says, "Everyone's looking for you." And Jesus says, "We must go to the other towns and villages and share the word with them." And there's no doubt that Jesus speaks with authority, and his teaching really resonates with people, but it's the miracles. We understand that. And of course, for those who are receptive, who are the beneficiaries of the miracles, all the more so, but their loved ones as well. And then we come, and we're still in chapter 1. Now we come to this gospel. And what a remarkable healing this is. I doubt if there's been many, if any, healings that took place for lepers. A horrific condition, a skin condition that we're aware of. We're blessed not to have this in many parts of the world anymore. But of course, this was a spiritual condition that was discussed because it was given to Moses and Aaron in Old Testament times to determine how do you keep the contagious from those who aren't sick. And so lepers were isolated. They were ostracized. And it was in this situation that the leper, probably who wasn't supposed to come near Jesus, but he does, falls on his knees and says to Jesus, "If you wish, you can make me clean." And then it says, moved with pity. Those are key words because Jesus does understand that miracles, even though there's a part of us that are, and a part of them that are more impressed by it, he also knows the miracles are going to scare the Roman and the Jewish authorities. And so it is only in those situations where Jesus is moved with pity. How can you have the power to heal someone who desperately needs healing and not do it? But having said, "I do will it be made clean," the leprosy leaves him. He is made clean, but Jesus, in what might have seemed a little strange at the time, says, "See to it that you tell no one anything, but go show yourself to the priest and offer for your cleansing what Moses prescribed. That will be proof for them." You remember when he healed the 10 lepers and only one came back to thank him, he had sent them off to the priest as well, because it was only the priest that could reunite them with society, with their family, with their friends. They no longer had to live in colonies as lepers if they are determined to be healed. But not surprising, the man who's been freed of leprosy is so overwhelmed. It says he begins to publicize the whole matter. He spreads the report abroad so that, just as Jesus suspected, it was impossible for him to enter a town openly. He remained outside in deserted places, and people kept coming to him from everywhere. This is the first chapter. This is the first chapter of Jesus exploding on the scene, coming in a way that staggers everyone, and yet we know so much still lies ahead in the remaining chapters just of this gospel. And maybe not as glorious a time as the miracle working, sometimes sad and difficult times, but it's all there for us. This is one of the gospels that I remember most from my youth. I was blessed to have parents, I don't know if I was always cooperative with it, but parents who got me to church. And I heard the readings each Sunday. And I remember this one, along with maybe a handful of others, that really touched my heart. Even as a 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old, it really resonated with me. And I think partly it was because I felt sorry for the people who had to endure the skin affliction, but also, and I think ways that children can truly appreciate what it means to be excluded, to be left out. And that was why I felt so bad for lepers, that they had to stay separate from everybody else and shout out, "Unclean, unclean." But I think in a way it's also kind of a reminder we deal with a kind of modern day leprosy, maybe not an infection of the skin, but our COVID infections are contagious. We have to take different precautions to make sure that we don't contract the disease. And it's a reminder, though, that we want with all of these people to love them, to encourage them, to support them, to know that's all part of being a follower of Jesus too. So I just invite you as we anticipate the coming of Lent, and we'll have different readings starting next Sunday, the readings of the Lenten Sundays. We won't get back to the Gospel of Mark till probably late June, when we're back in ordinary time, back in green. This is the last time we'll wear green until the end of June. We'll have purple for Lent and white for the Easter season. But in that time that anticipates the continuation of the Gospel of Mark, let's appreciate how much he was able to do and how beautifully compact is the writing that tells us about what he does from the Gospel of Mark. Just one short chapter, but so many amazing things.